The NBA takes into account a bunch of different things when determining if a player should make it into the Hall of Fame, because it's the Basketball Hall of Fame, not the NBA Hall of Fame. So they could take into account what they did in college, what they did in the NBA, maybe what they did for their Olympic team, or maybe any coaching accolades or front office accolades. But yeah, in today's video, we are going to be going through each NBA team and be going over which player, in my opinion, has the best chance at making it to the Hall of Fame one day. And it's crazy. So for some of these teams, they might currently have a first ballot Hall of Famer on their team already, or their best chance is a guy just entering the league. So if you guys do enjoy this style of content, feel free to drop a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And without further ado, let's get into this. Mikal Bridges would definitely have a weird path to making it to the Hall of Fame if we look at what he's done so far in his 5-year NBA career. I mean, he averaged 8 points in his rookie year, 9 points in year 2, then was around 13 and 14 for his age 24 and 25 seasons. And once he got traded over to the Brooklyn Nets back at the 2023 trade deadline, he exploded, averaged 26 points, 4.5 rebounds, and was very efficient as an elite two-way player for Brooklyn in 27 games. Mikal is most likely going to need to replicate what he did in that sample size for the next 6+ seasons to even be in a contention for the Hall of Fame. Now, if he does win a gold medal with Team USA at one point, that will help because he does have an elite college background for what he did at Villanova. That's why he came over to the NBA a little bit late, because he had so much success over there. So Bridges will be interesting when that day is here. Similar to Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson is also on a similar path, averaged below 10 points per game in his first 2 years in Dallas. He was a second-round pick back in 2018, then kind of exploded on the scene during the 2022 playoffs when the Mavericks were without Luka Doncic. Brunson stepped up, helping them beat the Utah Jazz, as well as the one-seeded Phoenix Suns the next series, and he really just broke out in 2023, averaging 24 points, 6 assists, 3.5 rebounds on elite efficiency in a large sample size of 68 games. Like Bridges, Brunson has the track record at Villanova with a national championship over there. He's on the FIBA team with Mikal Bridges this summer, and if he's on the Olympic team next year when the 2024 Olympics do happen, and he ends up winning a gold medal, that will help his resume out even more. But we're going to see at least another 6 or so years of this production from Brunson for him to at least be in conversation. I mean, Jason Tatum is on a perfect path to making it into the Hall of Fame. He averaged 14 points as a rookie, then goes up to 16, 23, 26, 27, and averaged 30 points per game in 2023. He's played 6 years in the NBA and has made it to 4 conference finals, as well as an NBA finals as the best player on the 2022 Celtics team. He's already won an All-Star Game MVP trophy. He's a 4-time All-Star. He's been on All-NBA first team twice, and he's still only 25 years old. Tatum is on a great path to being a Hall of Famer. For Toronto, we have Pascal Siakam, who's the oldest player we have mentioned so far. He is 29 years old, and Siakam did help win Toronto a championship in 2019 as the 3rd best player on that squad behind Kawhi and Kyle Lowry. Over the last 4 years, Siakam has averaged 23 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists, and has been, in my opinion, one of the more underrated players in the NBA. And he also won the Most Improved Player trophy back in 2019. He's a 2-time All-Star. That 2019 finals will be great on his resume, but he's not a lock to be in the Hall of Fame, and we need to see a bunch of more elite seasons from Pascal if he wants to be maybe a first ballot one day. And in my opinion, the player on the Philadelphia 76ers that's the most likely to make it into the Hall of Fame is not Joel Embiid. It's obviously James Harden, because if he retired today, he would be in the Hall of Fame. Now, Embiid just won MVP, but he's never been into the conference finals. He's still 29 years old. He's had around 4 or so elite seasons. And I think maybe he would get in, but if Harden retired today, he'd be in the Hall of Fame. He's played 14 years in the NBA, averaging 25 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 7 assists. He won the scoring title 3 straight years from 2018 to 2020. He was the 2018 MVP. He was also on the NBA 75th anniversary team, 10-time All-Star. Basketball Reference has him at 100% of making the Hall of Fame. Yeah, if Harden retired today, he'd be a first ballot Hall of Famer. The Pacers are a weird team because they have a lot of up-and-coming guys, and even like their veterans have absolutely zero shot at making the Hall of Fame. So Tyrese Halliburton, believe it or not, at 23 years old, is the most likely player on the Pacers squad to make it in the Hall of Fame. I mean, Halliburton broke out in 2023 in his age 22 season, averaging 20 points, 10.5 assists, 4 rebounds, and shot 49 from the field, 40 from 3, and 87 from the line. He was selected to the USA's FIBA team this summer. He was an All-Star in 2023. He has a very, very long career ahead of him, and he needs to accomplish over the next 10 plus years, but he definitely has the highest chance out of anybody on this Pacers team at the current moment. I mean, even funnier for the Detroit Pistons, it's Cade Cunningham at the current moment. I mean, this Pistons team just has a load of young talent. And I mean, I'm not taking Bojan Bogdanovic or Monty Morris as a player that's going to be in the Hall of Fame. So Cade Cunningham definitely has the highest potential out of anybody on this squad right now. And apparently he's been killing it in the USA scrimmages over the last couple of weeks. He had a really strong end to his rookie season. His sophomore year, though, was cut short, only playing in 12 games and then having a season-ending injury. But all reports are saying that Cade Cunningham has looked great this summer and he is primed to break out fully in 2024 and show everybody why he was the #1 overall pick in the 2021 NBA draft. The Cavs also have a fairly young team. Donovan Mitchell, though, has the best resume so far and is on a great pace of being a Hall of Famer one day. Last year was his first year in Cleveland, but as soon as he entered the NBA, he just was one of the better scorers in the league. In those 6 years that he's played so far, he's averaged 24.5 points, 4.5 assists, and 4 rebounds a night. If you take out his rookie season, he's averaging almost 26 points per game over the last 5 years. He's already been a 4-time All-Star and a 2023 All-NBA second team member. He still has a long ways to go, but he's currently the highest probable Cav of being in the Hall of Fame someday at this current moment. There's a good debate that if Giannis Antetokounmpo retired today, he'd be in the Hall of Fame. I actually think there shouldn't be a debate. He'd be in the Hall of Fame. Over the last 6 years, Giannis has averaged 29 points, 12 rebounds, 5.5 assists, over a steal and block a night, shot 55% from the field, has won 2 MVPs, an NBA title, a Defensive Player of the Year, and has been one of the best players on both the offensive side and defensive side of the ball. You can also make a good argument from 2020 to this past season, he was the unanimous best player in the NBA. If you want to give that title to Nikola Jokic now, I'm fine with it. But yeah, Giannis's resume speaks for itself. Already a 7-time All-Star. He was on the 2022 75th anniversary team. He also won Most Improved in 2017 and an All-Star Game MVP in 2021. Yeah, I do think Giannis with his Finals MVP also would be a Hall of Famer if he retired today. First ballot, too. The Bulls do have a decent amount of veterans. I'm going with DeMar DeRozan here. He's actually a fringe Hall of Famer right now, in my opinion. It's actually his 34th birthday today as I'm recording this. So happy birthday, DeMar. But yeah, DeRozan has played 14 years in the NBA. He was in the 2009 draft along with James Harden, who I mentioned earlier. And over the last 8 years, DeRozan has averaged 24 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, as well as shot 48% from the field. He never really developed his three-point shot as a whole and adapted to the modern-day NBA, but he was still one of the league's more all-around crafty scorers. He's a 6-time All-Star, a 3-time All-NBA member. I would give it a 50-50 chance that DeMar DeRozan makes it into the Hall of Fame. It's kind of funny. For Miami, the player here is Kyle Lowry, not Jimmy Butler. Now, I do think if Jimmy Butler retired today, maybe he wouldn't be a first-ballot Hall of Famer, but he would eventually get in, and I think he will be a Hall of Famer eventually when he retires and it's all said and done. But right now, if Kyle Lowry retired today, which he could probably do because he is 37 years old, he'd be in the Hall of Fame. Lowry did take a little bit to really break out as an NBA player, but from 2011 to 2021, a 10-year sample size, Lowry averaged 17 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, 1.5 steals a night, one of the better defensive point guards in the league, also shot 37% from 3. Lowry, like I mentioned earlier with Pascal Siakam, was the second best player on that 2019 Raptors championship squad. He's a 6-time All-Star, and I do believe that he'll be a Hall of Famer when he retires. The Hornets are like the Pistons and the Pacers. They don't really have anybody that's on a great pace right now. Like Gordon Hayward's kind of lost his chance. Terry Rozier not likely. So I'm going with LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball was off to a very good start in his career. He did win Rookie of the Year in 2021. He's also a 1-time All-Star already. He averaged 23 points, 8.5 assists, and 6.5 rebounds this past year for the Hornets in 36 games. And I do think if LaMelo Ball can stay healthy throughout his career and never be a complete liability on the defensive end when he's in his prime, that he'll be a Hall of Famer. Winning a championship does help, or doing something at least in the playoffs. Trae Young is coming in here for the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young offensively is off to a phenomenal start in his career. 5 years in the NBA, averaging 25.5 points, 9 assists, 4 rebounds, and shooting 35 from 3. He's a 2-time All-Star. He was on All-NBA third team in 2022, making it to the conference finals in 2021 when the Hawks upsetted the Philadelphia 76ers. Trae's defense will always be talked about throughout his career, so if he can improve at least marginally on the defensive side of the ball, his offense will speak for itself, and he could be a Hall of Famer one day. All right, I just had no idea who to pick for the Washington Wizards, so I did end up going with Jordan Poole, and I do think it's the right selection. Now, maybe they have the #1 one overall pick in 2024 and we want to take that guy. But right now, it's got to be Jordan Poole. He's still fairly young at 24 years old, and he has a solid resume so far. He was in the running for most improved player in 2022 when Ja Morant won it, but he did win a championship with Golden State that year, which looks great on a resume. He did average 18.5 points per game that season, leading the league with free throw percentage at 92%. He also averaged 20 points per game last year for Golden State. And I'm not saying he's going to be a Hall of Famer one day, but if you look at everybody on this Wizards team, he definitely has the best chance. Yep, so another young guy here, we have Paolo Banchero of the Orlando Magic. They don't really have a veteran right now that I would feel super confident giving the selection of this video to. And I know Paolo has only played 1 year in the NBA, but if what we saw in his rookie year is going to give us a sneak peek of what he's going to do over the next 15 plus years, yeah, Paolo Banchero can definitely be a Hall of Famer in, who knows, 2045, 2050. As long as this is absolutely it with the off-the-court issues, Ja Morant is on great pace to being a Hall of Famer. Ja averaged 18 points per game as a rookie, 19 as a sophomore, 27.5 when he won Most Improved Player in 2022, and averaged 26 and 8 last year for the Memphis Grizzlies. He helped the Grizzlies get the 2 seed in the Western Conference. Like I mentioned before, he did win the 2022 Most Improved Player Award. He was also the 2020 Rookie of the Year from the 2019 draft class. He's a 2-time All-Star and was also on the 2022 All-NBA second team. But like I said, Ja's gonna have to clean up the off-the-court issues if he does want to be in the Hall of Fame. We all know how good of a pace Luka Doncic is on so far in his career, but Kyrie Irving is the answer here. I think it would be debatable if he did retire today, he'd be a first ballot Hall of Famer, but man, he just really needs maybe one more year, and we could say so. What he did for Cleveland during their 2016 championship run, beating one of the greatest teams of all time, the 2016 Warriors, coming back down 3-1, being the second best player on that team, and hitting the most important shot of that season is enough in its own right to put him in the Hall of Fame. But Kyrie does have an elite resume. He's averaged 23.5 points throughout his career, just around 6 assists and 4 rebounds. He shot 39% from 3, 47 from the field, and 88 from the line. He's an 8-time All-Star. He won Rookie of the Year in 2012. He won the 2014 All-Star MVP. Kyrie does have a phenomenal resume as we speak. All right, so if we look at the San Antonio Spurs team right now, who would your answer be? Because any young guy with experience, like a Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan, I'm not going to choose them over Victor Wembanyama. They don't really have any great veterans on their team either, like Reggie Bullock, Doug McDermott, Kem Birch, Cam Payne. I mean, all fine veteran role players, but none of these guys are making it into the Hall of Fame or even at least being in the conversation. So yeah, I'm going with Wemby because I honestly don't think there's a better answer, even though he's never stepped foot on an NBA floor yet. So yeah, I guess we can find out if this was right or not in 25 years. We're going with Fred VanVleet here for the Toronto Raptors, mainly due to him being an important piece on that 2019 championship run. VanVleet came onto the scene as of late, being an undrafted guard out of Wichita State. Over the last 4 years, though, as a full-time starter basically in Toronto, he's averaged 19 points, 6.5 assists, and 2 steals a night. He does shoot 39% from the field, though, which isn't great. You could maybe give this to a Jalen Green, who definitely has a long career ahead of him, but has a higher ceiling. But yeah, Fred VanVleet already won a championship, and he's been to an All-Star game, so that's why I went with him. And lastly, for the Pelicans, I'm going with Brandon Ingram over Zion Williamson, due to Brandon Ingram at least being on the floor a little bit, and I don't think CJ McCollum will be a Hall of Famer when he retires. And Brandon Ingram has been on great pace over the last 4 years since being traded to the Pelicans, averaging 24 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 5 assists a night. He also made an All-Star game. He was the 2020 Most Improved Player, and he's still only 25 years old. So if we can get good Brandon Ingram for at least 10 more years, I think it'll be a no-brainer when it's all said and done in 2033. I wonder who this could be for the LA Lakers. Maybe Austin Reeves for what he just did for them in the playoffs? Yeah, so Anthony Davis could also be a great answer here just because he has a great resume already throughout his career. But the obvious answer, maybe the easiest answer ever, is LeBron James. LeBron has maybe one of the best resumes of all time, playing in 20 years. Yeah, this is going to be year 21 for him, and he's averaged 27 points, 7.5 rebounds, 7.5 assists, and has shot 50% from the field. And oh yeah, he's just a 19-time All-Star, 19-time All-NBA member, 3-time All-Star Game MVP, a 4-time NBA champion, a 4-time Finals MVP. He won his Rookie of the Year. He was the 2008 scoring champion. And in a lot of people's eyes, he's looked at as the GOAT. So yeah, LeBron's the answer here. Another really easy one is Steph Curry of the Golden State Warriors. Curry has played 14 years in the NBA in the same draft class as James Harden and DeMar DeRozan. Curry's averaged 24.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 6.5 assists throughout his career, has shot 42% from 3, 90 from the line, and 47% from the field. He is no doubtingly the best three-point shooter and just overall shooter of all time. He's a 9-time NBA All-Star. He's a 4-time NBA champion. He's got a Finals MVP. He's got 2 MVPs, including a unanimous one in 2016, where he had one of the greatest regular seasons of all time. And yeah, there's no argument here. I end up going with De'Aaron Fox with the Sacramento Kings. He has a long career ahead of him as well, but in his 6 years in the NBA, he's been very good so far, and he proved last year that he could be a winning player for the Sacramento Kings. Over the last 3 years for Sacramento, he's averaged 24.5 points, 6.5 assists, and a steal and a half a night, while also shooting 48% from the field. He made it to his first All-Star game last year and his first All-NBA appearance. So yeah, like I said, Fox has a long way to go, but he's not off to a bad start. We have another unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer here, and that's Kevin Durant of the Phoenix Suns. Durant, over his 15-year career, has averaged 27 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists. He was basically elite every year he played in the NBA besides 2020, when he had the Achilles injury that he had in the 2019 finals against the Raptors. KD's a 13-time All-Star, 4-time scoring champion, 10-time All-NBA member, 1 Rookie of the Year in 2008, 2014 MVP, 2-time All-Star Game MVP, 2-time Finals champion, as well as Finals MVP. One of the greatest players ever. And then for the LA Clippers, we have Kawhi Leonard, who was the Finals MVP during that 2019 Raptors run, which it's funny because that helped elevate Siakam, Van Vliet, and Lowry to be mentioned in this video. Kawhi also was a Finals MVP for the San Antonio Spurs in 2014. He's won 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards. He was the 2020 All-Star Game MVP, 7-time All-Defensive member, 5-time All-NBA member, one of the greatest two-way players of our generation. Nikola Jokic definitely cemented himself as being one of the greatest players of the 21st century this past year. He's won 2 MVPs. He just won Finals MVP with the Denver Nuggets. He's a 5-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA member, and has averaged 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 6.5 assists throughout his career. And if you look over the last 3 years, it's insane. 26 points, 12 rebounds a night, 8.5 assists, a steal and a half, and shoots 59% from the field, 36 from 3, and 83% from the line. It's video game-like numbers. I didn't really know who to go here with the Utah Jazz, but I'm going with Lauri Markkanen, who just had an incredible season for the Utah Jazz, winning Most Improved Player in year 6. But yeah, that was the thing with Lauri. It is year 6. He had a pretty average first 5 years in the NBA after being a top 10 pick in the 2017 draft. And he was an All-Star last year. Like I said, he won Most Improved, averaging 25.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, and was a very efficient player. And if we see that type of game from Lauri for the next 7 to 10 years, he will definitely be in conversation for being a Hall of Famer, but he definitely needs to do that because he had a late start to being an elite player. You could go with Karl-Anthony Towns here with the Minnesota Timberwolves, or maybe Rudy Gobert due to his Defensive Player of the Year awards, but I'm going with Anthony Edwards because I think he has a much higher ceiling than those two, and I will put a lot of money that he will hit that ceiling in the NBA. Ant was a first-time All-Star last year. He maybe should have won Rookie of the Year over LaMelo Ball a few years ago, but in year 3 at his best yet, averaging 24.5 points, 4.5 assists, 6 rebounds. You guys have heard me talk about it many times on this channel, how good he was in round 1 against the Nuggets, but I could definitely get why you could choose Cat or Gobert in this scenario. The Thunder have an incredibly young team, so I'm going with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, though. This one is a no-brainer. Shai, after what he just did the last 3 years, and especially what he did last year, is on phenomenal pace to being a Hall of Famer. He averaged 31.5 points last year. That is absurd. 5.5 assists, 4.8 rebounds, 51% from the field. He got his first time All-Star appearance and was on All-NBA first team. I just can't wait to see what Shai does over the next 5+ years, hopefully in Oklahoma City. And lastly, it's an easy one for the Portland Trail Blazers while he's still on the team, because if they do trade him, or when they do trade Damian Lillard, I don't know who this would be, so this was easy. Damian Lillard for the Portland Trail Blazers. Dame has played 11 years in the NBA, 7-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA member. He won the 2013 Rookie of the Year award. He was on NBA's 75th anniversary team. I mean, he's averaged 25, 4.5, and 6.5 throughout those 11 years. He never really had the playoff success, but what he did in the regular season will be enough. Dame will be a first ballot Hall of Famer when he retires. So yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of these selections in the comments below. And yeah, maybe give me a comment as well, any other video ideas you guys want to see on the channel. Like I said in the beginning of the video, drop a like if you guys did enjoy. I would really appreciate that. And I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.